Well, good morning, and we're here for another installment of our discussion around Black prosperity and wealth. And again, Bill Diggs, your host, Executive Director for the Miami-Dade Economic Advocacy Trust. I'm excited about today because today is the first day of Women's History Month. And the reason that, for me, this is so significant is because I am talking to a dear friend of mine who, like myself, is not a native of South Florida and Miami, but has found her way into becoming such an integral part of our community. Today, my guest is Ms. Connie Kinnard, Senior Vice President of the Greater Miami Convention and Visitors Bureau. Connie, good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having me. Women's History Month. Yeah, You're right. You're right. Yes.
Yeah, it's a big deal. It's a big deal in a lot of different ways. One is because I remember when you came into Miami, when you were brand new, and you and I connected because of your background in Convention and Visitors Bureau.
Right.
I said, hey, do you know my friend Stephanie Mays Boyd?
That's right.
Who, by the way, is my wife's friend. And,
right.
And my wife's friends are my friends. And so,
that's right.
And you talked about that, and we talked about the growth of you and your career. And you were one of these adults who was not afraid to come into our community. So how's it been? How's it going?
It's been going great. It's amazing, when you take a leap, moving from Tennessee, Nashville area, coming to Miami. A lot of my friends and people were like, Miami, okay. It was a different vibe or a different jump, but it's been amazing. And partly we'll talk about work and job, but I think the main thing is because I have made some good connections and great relationships, to include yours. And I think it makes a difference if you choose to make somewhere your home. A job is a job, career, but your relationships in the community, they make a difference. And so for me, it's been good.
How long you been here now?
9 years in June, 8.5. So it's coming up on 9 years. I moved here in 2015.
Gosh.
And I know it's like 3 or 4 of those years just went. Like, I don't know where they went. Because it doesn't seem that long.
Yeah, it really does. Because, and by the way, congratulations, you've been promoted.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So you got this highly coveted role of being a senior vice president with one of the major Convention and Visitors Bureau organizations in the country. So, and of course we know that our dear friend Bill Talbot has retired.
Yes.
And the dynamic David Whitaker has come in and taken his place. How's that transition been for you?
It's been great. We all know Bill Talbot. He has an energy that is, he comes in a room, he's there, that whole thing. He did hire me, great leader. But David Whitaker, I've known him as well in the industry. I knew him before he came to Miami.
Okay.
So he's known in the industry as well. Different leadership style. Both are impactful and innovative. And so the transition, sometimes when you do change your direct report, that can make a difference.
Exactly.
But for me, I think the benefits just continue to flow. So it's been, that part has been good as well.
Good. Well, so again, it's Women's History Month. And you really are a leading force in our community for all things that track back to the economic engine that makes Miami go, which is trade, travel, and tourism. Talk to me about Women's History Month and kind of what that means from your perspective.
Yeah, it's interesting because even today, we have to make sure that we have elevation times for women. You would think we haven't arrived yet, or we're not where we need to be. And so we continuously have to uplift women and things of this nature where we can talk about some of the things we do. But I think Women's History Month is important because it is a time, as with Black History Month and some of the other months, that we can recognize women who are making a difference. We can recognize women who have helped blaze trails. I'm not here by happenstance. I'm here because there's somebody who prayed. There's somebody who came down this path before me. And so it's a time that we can recognize that. And then, I also think it's a time for us individually, and I know different people kind of do different things, to recommit inwardly.
Right on.
Because when you think about when you think about it, I need to challenge myself, like this is a time for me to remember, people that I didn't even know that were doing things in this community and other communities. So it's Women's History Month can mean a lot of things, but I definitely think you should use these months that we have as a time for personal evaluation, recommitment, and things of that nature.
I like the recommit internally, and let me say why. Every day we're reading about this whole assault on diversity, equity, and inclusion, right? And we try to act like none of this reverberation to the past, is not affecting us. But I gotta say that, women got the right to vote, and later on too, right? Women have been marginalized in the business environment forever. We have a female mayor now, Danielle Levine-Cava, who of course pulls no punches, takes no prisoners around these issues in regards to diversity. We just had a major event where we talked about prosperity and wealth, and it was run by Commissioner, Miami-Dade County Commissioner Danielle Cohen-Higgins, and she talked about being first generation in her family, to be here in this country doing the kind of things that she's doing. And I begin to realize that, listen, at the center of the universe of a minority spectrum is the female who's been marginalized.
That's right.
Right?
That's right.
And so, we haven't made that big of a deal about Women's History Month, but when I really think about the strides that we made in this country, we are joined at the hip. And our battle to the future says that we got to all, kind of recommit internally. Right? That's right. Because the quiet riot is taking place around us. That's right. And so, I applaud you for making that statement, because it does help me to understand how valuable this is. Because listen, you are a decision maker in this community, right? David Whitaker and the board of the Greater Miami Convention Visitors has empowered Connie Canard to be a force to be not just reckoned with, but also at the table to make deals. It's a lot of pressure, right?
It is. And you said something, in DEI we talk about allies,
Right.
There's people who are within your sphere and know the struggle. And then there are people outside that really can't speak to what we feel as people of color. And of course, DEI has other things other than dealing with race and culture. There's other factors. But there are people still that don't walk in those shoes, right? And so it's really important. You mentioned about being a decision maker and at the table. But it also takes people sometimes that may not look like you, but have a direct emphasis on what you do, to understand that they need to put you in a position that you do have power, and you're not just there to be there. You're there to have power and decision making. And then, they also need to support you. So it's a balance. And so I say that to say, this whole DEI and Women's History Month, and we also need to make sure, and since we're talking about it, that those that can empower,
how about that?
Do empower. Very important, very important. So I'm glad to work with some leaders that get that. They get that.
Because everybody doesn't.
That's right.
And again, I like, and by the way, we do Black Business Month, and Petra, who's on your team, is so smart. She's so bright. But what I think I love about your leadership skill is that she speaks with a level of confidence that she knows that she's able to speak with, right? And I watch you in meetings do the same thing, so I can see that, you don't pull any punches. And you're nice about it. But I told somebody, I said, if you think Connie Canard doesn't have a scalpel, then, you're wrong to think that, because I admire how you're determined to make sure that the things that make sense for our cultural community continue to give rise to where we want to go, right? And so you all are also doing something else. You're bringing back one of the nonprofits that has always been a part of your family. Talk about that for me.
Thank you. And thank you for being a part of it. Our Black Hospitality Initiative. And it's a way, in this industry, kind of nationwide, there's a lack of people of color in leadership positions, CEOs, general managers of hotels, presidents and senior leaders of bureaus.
Right.
It's still not where it needs to be.
How about
women and people of color and things of the nature. So our Black Hospitality Initiative particularly is a way for us to work on that.
Yeah.
For us to give back, for us to provide scholarships for students that are interested in the hospitality industry.
Right.
A way for us, really, it's kind of morphing into a bit of a workforce development, mentoring, advocacy for the industry.
That's right.
You know, making some of the kids aware earlier that the hospitality industry is a viable industry.
Right. Right.
You know, I think we all can speak for this. You know, sometimes you think about it as being just service or let me backtrack. Service is in all industries, and service is a great thing.
Sure.
I think we look at it as a part of service that's the part that maybe, you know, I don't want to clean a room if you're in a hotel, or I don't want to do this.
Yeah.
But we're trying to change the mindset, because sometimes cleaning that room can take you to be the GM of the same hotel.
There you go.
Just depends on your perspective and your mindset.
That's very true. You know, and that's a message that I hear a lot of times that Andy Ingram will always talk about, right? In regards to the National Association of Black Hotel Owners, Operators, and Developers. He speaks about, you know, you can, in order for you to know the business, you have to be in the business. And that means every facet of it, right?
Every facet.
And so, you know, I'm glad to know that you brought back Dr. Graylin Swilly Woods to be the person that's going to be running the organization again.
That's right.
Right.
That's right.
I like that, and you know, you and I kind of talked earlier about people being able to understand the dynamic of such a big and wily agency called the GMCVB.
That's right.
You got to get people that can kind of embrace the crazy,
embrace the crazy, and the politics, and there's a balance in everything we do.
There you go.
You know, as the bureau, we represent the community, our destination.
Right.
But we also have people we have to answer to, external partners.
There you go.
Internal partners.
Right.
And then how does this nonprofit, the Black Hospitality Initiative, play into all of that?
Yeah.
So it's a little bit of a dance, but it is a dance that's worthy. Yeah. You know, so yes.
But, you know, but also, too, I want to say this, you know, I like, you know, when you all have an annual, it's like it's not a job fair, it's an event that we do at Jungle Island. What's that called?
A partnership expo.
Yeah.
And so thank you for the Miami-Dade Economic Advocacy Trust being a part of that.
Yeah, I like that event. As a matter of fact, you know, we look at it and say, we're going to steal some of that.
That's right.
You know, but then I figure we don't have to, right? We just call you and Petra.
Right.
And because you all do it really well. I love, you know, the vendor showcases and what you all have done. I mean, listen, you know, and that's the importance of cultural adaptability. That everyone doesn't have. That I think that this whole piece of Connie Canard, being an African-American woman from Tennessee, really brings to the table is because you can see the nuance, right? And when you do those events, you know, and you look at the GMCVB and says, they're nimble enough to get it. You know?
You know, it's interesting. One of the things doing that, and you mentioned that expo, because we're both about making sure our businesses in the community, you know, are getting their economic touch, which they should. You know, of course, we deal kind of focusing more in the tourism space, and you're with all the space. So we're happy that you're kind of one of our partners, and of course, as you grow, we're here to be a part of whatever you may do. Of course,
right. I mean, and honestly, you know, because listen, we can't pay for the level of expertise that you and your team bring. You know, so when you guys are engaged with us, we know that there's real inherent value that other people would pay a lot of money for, you know, to have you all at the table. So thank you for that.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome. And part of, you mentioned coming in, getting in the community, and I guess looking at it from, I don't want to say fresh eyes. People say fresh, but just different eyes. I don't know all the backstory and still don't, you know, of everything. And so sometimes when I come in, you know, I might step on some toes because I don't know all of that. But sometimes it's been a benefit because you just come in seeing where a gap is, where you think it is, and you go there.
There you go.
You know, so.
Well, it's made us better. I mean, I got to be honest with you. I mean, we're continuing to learn because of our engagement with you guys. You know, we're going to to Chicago in a couple of weeks, myself and the folk from the Beacon Council and the Miami-Dade Chamber of Commerce, and also Career Source. And we're going to be talking to Black businesses about having them to move either their headquarters or regional location into Miami. First time ever that a Black-led coalition by an African-American based county agency is going to be focusing on trying to grow Black businesses in a very driven and responsible way, right? So economic development for us is key. And we know that, again, airport and seaport are the two areas that for all of us drive this economic engine, right?
That's right.
And when we talk about that, when you think about kind of what the GMCVB does, you know, we're touting you as a go-to organization in our community for that kind of stuff.
You know, that's very important, what you're doing and what you always do, but this coalition, because part of, too, and how we're talking with conventions, we say, you know, and this kind of goes back to COVID and goes back to all of the things happening right now. When you come to our community, we need you, we want you to support our businesses. So we need strong businesses, and we need businesses for them to support. Now, there you go. Of course, we're in Miami-Dade. There's a lot of strong Black businesses in the community, and we you know, try to connect those dots as much as possible. But the more that we work on securing businesses and retaining and helping them grow, the better it is for the tourism ecosystem. You know, kind of when people should be intentional about travel. That's kind of what's going on now in our world. If you're going to travel, be intentional about maybe where you go, and then when you get there, what you do. And so strengthening Black businesses, bringing more headquarters and things of that nature really helps our promotion of our destination because we need that. You know, a lot of times for me, when a customer may ask for a certain type of business and say, hey, we want to partner. And if I can't find it, that kind of concerns me, you know, because it's like, oh, man, we need to work on that, which thank you, because I know that you have done studies and we participated in some of those on where those gaps are. You know, so so it's really important what you're.
Well, you know, I mean, again, and I think we know that this is a majority community, and sometimes we forget that, right? I mean, you know, the Black diaspora here in Miami is second or third largest, but the largest is the Hispanic Latino majority, right? And by the way, that's changed. I mean, 20 years ago, you could say that the majority of the Hispanic community, before they even wanted to use the word Latino, you know, was Cuban. It's not that way anymore. So now it is not a Hispanic community; it's a Latino community.
That's right.
So it's folk from Colombia, Venezuela, Nicaragua, Cuba, and all those areas. And you know what's neat, for those of us that kind of travel up and down South and Central America, as you get closer to the port cities, you know, the hue gets darker.
That's right.
You know, I was talking to this young man the other day, and I wasn't speaking. I just said hello. He looked at me, nodded his head, and he was dark as I was. I said, "Hey man, how you doing?" And see, I'm a country boy from Augusta, Georgia. I speak to everybody. And I got to the point now in Miami where I make you speak back to me. Matter of fact, there was a joke when I left the condo we lived in. People would get on the elevator, they wouldn't speak to each other from the next 5 floors, and then when Bill would get on there, and say, "Hey, good morning, Bill," because I always speak to people. You know, I'm my grandmama's child, right? And so I was like, look at this guy, and he looked at me, and he said, "Buenos dias." I said, "You don't speak English." And he looked at me. He said, "Un poquito." And I laughed. I said, "Man, where are you from?" And he said, "Como?" I said, "Where? Home?" You know, because you know I don't speak Spanish other than cursing. And he understood me. And he said he's from Ecuador.
Oh, wow.
Blew my mind.
Wow.
Blew my mind. You know, and I'm beginning to realize that, you know, that again, you know, if you follow all the slave ships from the Horn of Africa, we got dropped off everywhere, man. Everywhere. You know, and the United States was the last stop, right? So all up and down the Caribbean.
Yes.
You know, and all these countries in South and Central America, you have these Black populations all over the world.
Yeah.
And I realized that your job as the firm that handles destination, you know, is to have a relative, you know, dialogue and marketing brand that attracts all of them.
That's right. And you know, we want to promote our destination like our destination looks like. We have to be inclusive. And so multiculturalism is a big piece, you know. And for me, the African American, the Black market and things in it is a very high piece.
Right.
But also some of the other diasporas as well, because like you say, the demographics are changing.
Right.
And in all of those different nationalities, they have small businesses and things, and we need to bring everybody up, you know, when it comes to the whole multicultural piece.
Yeah.
People in general, kind of whatever area in the DEI space, diversity, that have not been able to play ball at the table and be a part of that dynamic, we try to connect those dots.
Yeah.
And truly also, you know, the Black market is a big piece of that. You know, when I first came, that was a big gap in my mind for us. And I hopefully and thank you that we've been able to connect those dots. Even more.
In a major way. And I want to say this. What you just said shows the impact of you and your organization. Because you're right. I mean, you know, when the boycott happened many moons ago, and my friend H.T. Smith was demanding that there be real change in our community, the good news is folk heard him.
Yeah.
The bad news is that you know, our state has decided to take a step back, you know, and not be as understanding around that. Yeah. It's almost like, you know, they're trying to take me back, and I got to be honest with you, I ain't going.
Right. I
mean, because, you know, I told somebody, I said, you know, like my father said, define for me what you mean by the good old days. Yeah. Right? Yeah. When I had, you know, I couldn't, you know, live and play anywhere that I wanted. Yeah. That every book that our kids had in schools, you know, were hand-me-down books and pages ripped out. Yeah. And then even in some schools, you know, when these, you know, white folk would know that these books were going to be going to a Black school, they'd write ugly words in them because they knew that the next people that see them would be that way. That's right. It was a terrible time. Yeah. And so I believe that this has got to be the best of our times, that we have to focus on what the forward mission ought to look like. Because honestly, listen, I mean, you know, I got grown children now. Yeah. And, you know, who are about to have their own children. And I have a definite interest in making sure that everybody embraces people and meets them where they're at. That's right. That's not just race, it's sexuality, it's gender affirming, it's all the things that just say, let me live. That's right. You know? That's right. Now is the time, again, for awareness. Yeah. Because to your point, we can all do things within our sphere of influence and reach. Right. And I think now, just in general, wherever you fall in your thought process with everything going on. Yeah. Now, what it shows us is that individually, we need to do things to move the needle forward based upon what we believe. There you go. So no entity can control certain things that you can do on your own. That's right. You know, and that's so right. I think we might kind of going back. I know what you're saying. You don't want to go back. But the one thing I would say about maybe going back is looking at how leaders dealt with these situations, and maybe, you know, our churches again, and things of those nature. And we do it. We're both in sororities, fraternities, making sure that we do some of the things that we need to do within those, because if some of those things are taken away from a broad level, how do we deal with them on a one-on-one level? And there's ways you can do that depending on what you believe. So, you know, it's again a chance to say, where's my commitment to this? If I don't like how this is going down, then what's my personal commitment? There you go. And because you have those leadership skills, I think that it is important that you allow for them to resonate in communities that you know that you can come and you can serve, right? That's right. Because service, you know, every, you know, service of mankind is the key. Is the key. Us having the ability to be able to know that because we have a particular level of one, retrospect, and two, because we do understand kind of what the future ought to look like, because we are business leaders. We have responsibility to figure out how to engage that. You know, one of the neat things that's beginning to happen now, and I'm going to call this economic development, and some people say, what do you mean by that? Churches are now beginning to develop their own curriculum around Black history, so that it's going to be told by them. And I finally, I guess I'm saying it publicly here today, I've got to find a way to teach one of those classes, right? I mean, because one, you know, I've always considered myself a thriving anthropologist. I mean, I love that, but I want to say to those folk that have decided, you know, in the way of James Brown, I don't need nobody to give me nothing, open the door, I'll get it myself, right? So this is the Black Church saying, you know what, I'll tell you what, y'all don't want to teach in the schools, we'll do it. You know, and they've said that. And by the way, there's a whole curriculum, right? And I've got to find a way to engage myself in that.
And like you said, that goes back to what can you do in other realms that can help. You know, so
listen, before we go, tell me what your job is, Connie, Senior Vice President. Explain to me from your perspective what you do.
What that means.
What that means, yeah.
I guess I'll in a
what the book
big
I say,
picture.
what that mean?
What that mean?
Yeah.
In a big picture, at the Convention and Visitors Bureau, our mission is we are the marketing agency for this destination, and so at the end of the day, we try to bring people here, whether it's conventions, leisure. We promote what we offer or can attract in Miami-Dade. That's a broader picture. So specifically for me in my department, we are working with our cultural communities, our neighborhoods, our businesses to ensure that those dots to tourism are connected to the broader picture. Because sometimes in this world, the marketing that you see, and we've gotten away from that a lot, but over the years, it's been water, it's been sun. Great. I love our water and sun. That's why.
Yeah.
However, you know and I know that there are many layers to our destination.
Yeah.
A lot of culture here, a lot of things to do other than what the people may think or the first thing they thought. So part of what I do is to help tell that story of Miami and more, if you will. You know, I don't even say more than the beach because, hey, we love our beaches. We love Miami Beach. We love all that. Yeah. But we have more than that. And so if you come, you know, we want you to know about our neighborhoods and what's going on in this thing. So really what I deal with has to do with elevating all of that, whether it's our tourism business enhancement, which works with our business piece, our Art of Black Miami, which helps to elevate the artists in our community, because we look at artists as a business.
Yeah, well, we should. I mean, Art Basel,
so there are ways that they can connect more with tourism and all those things, whether it's helping our convention sales team book a convention, you know, how those dots, whether it's bringing more partners to the table so that they know all of those things. So I guess kind of look at what we do, I do as a conduit, if you will. A conduit of information, resources, and assistance. Yeah.
Gotcha. You know, it's always good to understand, you know, about our community and the way of, you know, I keep saying it, travel, trade, and tourism. Yeah. You know, I look at the port and how massive it is with the cruise ships that are coming in.
That's right.
Those things are floating cities.
Yes.
Right? And so the vendor pool needs to be as diversified as the business.
That's right.
And that's where you and I connect and try to make sure that we understand. You know, when there are major events that are coming into our town, I want to make sure that we stay connected in regards to how we can help when the time comes. But I can say that I don't think that anybody does it better than you, because you're always busy, but you always seem to find time. You know, I mean, and so, but my wife, your sorority sister, wanted to tell you this morning. You know, say good morning and hey, Sarah.
That's my,
that's
right.
She always smiles. She says she's always got that smile. So tell her I said hello.
Oh, I thank you.
You know.
Hey, Marie.
Right. Because listen, we'll continue to be connected. You and I got a lot to do going forward, and I'm so grateful that you've taken the time here today for us to learn more about the Senior Vice President of the Greater Miami Convention and Visitors Bureau, Ms. Connie Kinnard. Born and raised Tennessean.
Yes, right. Franklin, Tennessee.
Franklin, Tennessee. Yeah, so shout out to Tennessee.
Hey.
All the way down here in South Florida, making big moves.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you for having me. This is awesome. Miles to go before we can sleep.
That's right.
Got a lot to do.
We do.
But we're going to do it.
Great. Thank you.